Square when the 20th century was on its way in and the horse-drawn trolleys were on their way out. Herald Square, not Times Square, was then the mecca of show business and bright lights. Fifth Avenue on Easter Sunday 60 years ago. The Plaza at 59th Street and 5th. Riverside Drive, practically out of town then, exclusive and expensive. Fulton Street, Brooklyn, back when more than one tree grew there. Brooklyn had been a separate city until 1898 and had just become one of New York's 5 boroughs when these films were taken. Note the horse-drawn paddy wagon. This isn't Vermont. It's Brooklyn's Prospect Park. On a white Christmas, in the era when the jingle bells were on real sleighs. Downtown Newark, New Jersey, with the latest in fire equipment going into action. This shouldn't look too unfamiliar. It's the Interborough Subway coming into Grand Central in 1905, just after it opened for business. Folks were in just as much of a hurry then. But it's changed in some ways. For instance, it was easier then for a woman to get a seat from a man because the women rode in separate cars. Men were required to wear hats, derbies and toppers, of course. And the fare? 5 cents. Now for a cruise around Manhattan Island. Not on a sightseeing boat, but on a private yacht. That was what the smart set did on a Sunday afternoon in the days when there were still square riggers in the slips of the Hudson and East Rivers. We've just passed under the Brooklyn Bridge, New York's first major bridge, incidentally, and we can still see the Manhattan Bridge in the background. The bridges hadn't yet put the East River ferries out of business. Now watch for one of the East River tugboats. The tugs are just about the only things that haven't changed much in over half a century. Long since been sent to prison, but his successors were almost as bad. Manhattan's notorious Bowery, photographed here in the shadow of the 3rd Avenue L, was a stronghold of votes for the Tammany machine during the period. Today it's known as Derelict Alley, but in the 90s it was a hangout for real swindlers and criminals. Needless to say, the paddy wagon did a rushing business in the neighborhood. And those were the days when newsboys like this lad on a downtown Broadway corner sold their wares for a penny. Manhattan journalists were building a tradition of fearless reporting. Tammany was particularly wary of the New York Times, which exposed Boss Tweed's nefarious practices in 1871. Tammany put plenty of showmanship into its election campaigning. This scene, for instance, shows a group of 1897 voters disembarking from a Glen Island sightseeing boat after enjoying a free picnic financed by the Democratic Party. From 1886 to 1902, Tammany's big boss was Richard Croker. These pictures were taken at his May and December wedding to Beulah Edmondson, a young Cherokee Indian princess. Croker was almost 60 at the time. Boss Croker mingled freely with the rich and famous. The man on his right is U.S. diplomat Oscar Strauss, whose family founded Macy's. After his political downfall in 1902, Croker returned.
Those were the days when a man didn't necessarily mean that his wife should hurry when he told her to get a bustle on. In 1910, it was stylish to wear one of those dresses with a back porch. This young lady has just come to New York to try to make her fortune in the big city. Some doll. I love my wife, but oh, you kids. She doesn't have to worry about mashers. She can always protect her honor with a hat pin. The fair sex have always had their own individual ideas regarding clothes. No woman ever takes another woman's advice about dresses. You don't ask the enemy how to win the war.